Another question we get a lot is about challenges. Some of the challenges we're going to look at when we start switching into no-till. What are some of these challenges? A big one off top of your head is your weeds, your insect pressure. You're not going to be able to solve these with a cultivation. You're not going to be able to go out there and run the field cultivator. You're not going to be able to go out there and disc, chisel plow, whatever you want to do. Your fancy of tillage is not going to be available. So how do we take care of weeds? That's where I come back to, if you own your own sprayer and being able to go out there and spray everything in a timely manner, you really shouldn't have an issue. There are becoming, herbicide resistant weeds. So just educating yourself on what herbicide works best in your area. The big conversation with soybeans is there's 6 or 7 different types of herbicide tolerant soybeans. So just be mindful and have open conversations with your neighbors so you're not hurting their beans as well as, when you're spraying your own. But being able to handle those weeds and insects and just being timely on it is going to really help, overcome that challenge. Another thing is being patient. Like I mentioned earlier, being patient in the spring, being able to sit back and watch your neighbor go out and run a turbo till, run a field cultivator across acres, and then plant right into it. You're probably going to need to be able to wait 2-3 days for the weather to be fit. Let that sun dry out that soil. If you got no-till stalks, let them stalks dry out so that you can go out there and plant into a good seed bed and making sure that you're being successful on those acres on your farm. It sucks, it's hard to do, but maybe push back some of the things that you want to do until that little 2-3 day window to keep you busy around the farm, rather than sitting there watching your neighbors go by. Another question we get asked a lot is about ruts, compaction. How do we handle that? If you got a really, really, really wet spring and the only way you're getting that crop out is to rut up the field, you're gonna have to do it. It's just inevitable. It's how it goes. You've spent a lot of money and it's sitting out there and it's got to come in for you guys to pay checks and do things like that. So the chances, of that happening once within the 10 years of the Goro contract is probably going to happen. Then you got to come back and level it off and try to figure out how to do some, get rid of some of that compaction. So realistically, 80-90% of the time, we hope that you don't have to worry about that, because as you transition into no-till, your soil structure is going to get better, being able to help withstand some of these. But in the early years, there's a good chance that this might be a problem. So we try to look at something of a minimal disturbance. So it has to be an inline ripper or something like that, to where you're just lifting the soil from the bottom and not disturbing the top. Something to look at. But like I said, in the long run, the soil will start to begin have better aggregate stability, start to become just more durable, more resilient, and being able to help withstand some of this these big rains that cause for these compactions. Another thing to look at is possibly adding cover crops to the mix. Not saying it's going to be an end-all be-all, but it does help alleviate some of these compaction problems. Another thing is looking at the benefits of no-till and reduced tillage. Like mentioned earlier, there is some cost savings and labor savings. You're not having to have a full fleet of guys out here working ground in the fall and the spring. You can be a 1-2 man show, lets you be lean, lets you spend money. If you're not out here buying a new chisel plow every 4 or 5 years and a 4-wheel drive tractor, there's money to be spent other places on your operation to help maximize your potential as a farmer and just everything that goes into that and to that crop. So that's something we need to look at. Another thing is the nutrient cycling. As this system becomes primed and really starts to take shape, your fertilizer, everything becomes more efficient, and hopefully that can start you reducing your numbers. So if you're raising 200 bushel corn and you're putting on 180 pounds of nitrogen every year to do that, maybe the longer we're into this no-till system, this ground becomes more sufficient, and you can really start lowering those numbers. I'm not going to say you're going to be, you're not going to raise 200 bushel corn off 50 pounds of nitrogen, but slowly but surely start tinkering the numbers down and being more efficient, saving you money, saving you time overall in this operation. Another big thing is soil structure. being able to, like I mentioned, alleviate some of these compaction problems and not have to look at it. You get a wet fall, you've got good soil structure, that water is running through, it's infiltrating the soil in such a way that wasn't there normally, because you'd have a hard pan with your normal tillage practice. But being able to do that, allowing the combine, the grain cart to get across acres a lot better in the fall, is something worth mentioning. I know for myself, my own operation, like I said earlier, I just started here this spring. Before this, I worked for a company called Soil Health Partnership. I was an agronomist and field manager for them.